Hi everybody, welcome back to the studio. Last week I left you on a bit of a bombshell discovery about our painting, so I'm just going to jump straight in and let you know what I found out. So a quick Google Lens search of my painting revealed quite quickly another painting by an artist called George W. Butland. The painting depicts the Seringapatam returning back to port after a voyage. The house flag of Green, who's the shipbuilder, can be seen on the mainsail along with the flag signalling for a pilot. But you can see the exact similarities between this painting and our painting. The small fishing boat in the foreground, the buoy, and then the coastline in the back. So our painting is obviously a direct copy of this one, and again, we don't know who this is by. George William Butland was a successful marine artist living at Greenhithe near Dartford in the 1830s. His 16-year-old son, George, tragically drowned in a yachting accident in 1838. Butland is listed in Piggott's Directory as a marine artist and died in the same year, being buried at Dartford. Now, I had another look around, and this boat, there's a few, I can't really say it, Seringapatam, there's a few of these vessels. They're all green vessels, and they're kind of standard man-of-war ships as well. I found models and various other descriptions of this boat and details about its history, and it's just been fascinating to read more about Butland and also about this boat and the voyages that it went on. I even found links to a Lord Bloomfield as well, so I went down a bit of a rabbit hole there, but there's so much history out there, especially in this period, and even though I'm disappointed it's not a Carmichael, I'm just really pleased that I found out what this boat is and a little bit more of its history. We may never find out who it is actually by, but I don't think that's a problem really. I think someone just wanted to make a reproduction of this painting, and this is what we're left with. Right, we are going to apply a barrier varnish now to this painting. This is a hydrocarbon varnish. It's going to protect the original paint now before we start filling and retouching. So I normally work the varnish horizontally and vertical and get a real nice finish on that. And whilst that's drying, I've also found something rather wonderful for this painting as well. So I was going to commission a new bespoke swept frame for the picture. When I thought it was a Carmichael, I was going to push the boat out, shall we say, and commission a frame. But when I found out that it wasn't a Carmichael, I scratched my head a little bit, and then this frame has been kicking around the studio for around 10 years. It was made by my mentor and the person who I served my apprenticeship with, and I think it's been kind of cut down or kind of doctored slightly from a larger frame, but it's in great condition, and I just thought what a nice thing to clean this frame up, and it fitted perfectly. So this will be going on later on in the restoration. Now, this is a conservation filler. I'm going to be filling all these rips and tears. Now, some of the adhesive, when it's come off the table, has flattened out, and some of the tears are nice and level. Some, however, will need to be filled. And this filler, I always overfill and then tidy up the process afterwards. This way you get a nice flat level surface. So there's a number of ways you can clean it up. The first way is the more laborious and time consuming, which is just using a cotton bud or Q-tip, and it takes ages and ages. Now, you could speed this up a little bit. You could use some wadding. Now, it's a little bit less precise, but it does give a nice flat finish as well. But when you use something like this, you can run the risk of taking off too much of your filling, especially if it's a little bit damp like this is. So this will speed the process up, but you can, and as I just have, removed too much filler there, so I'll have to put that back in. So sometimes faster isn't necessarily better, and then back to using the Q-tip to just remove that excess. And what you're looking for is the thinner the filler means that it's just on the paint surface. The more opaque and thicker it is, it means it's actually filling a gap. And then once I've removed the excess, this swab will just tidy up the residue that's left over. Yeah, it can take quite a few hours to kind of get this to a point where you're ready to start retouching. They won't be 100% perfect at this point. You may still have to revisit once you start retouching. Just want to say thank you to the person who commented about Patrick O'Brien, Master and Commander. Wow, I picked this book up on Sunday. I've nearly finished it. Fabulous. If you want to immerse yourself, shall I say, in this world of these man of wars and the frigates and that whole period, this book just brings it all to life. Absolutely brilliant. Like I say, I'll probably finish this tomorrow, but it's been such a wealth of information about the ships, the crew, just everything about that whole period. This guy, fabulous, makes you come alive. So that's Patrick O'Brien, Master and Commander. I know there's a film out there, but I think there's 20 books in this series. So no doubt I'll be wading through them. So thank you to that person who recommended this to me. It's been a real pleasure. So thank you. Right, we are on with retouching. So what I'm going to show you is a number of first passes now. So I've got my filled area up to level as best I can tell from now, and then I'm just going to put a first coat on. So this is Restoration Pigments. It's in a resin that's fully reversible, and I'm just trying to get that filler covered at this stage, and then I'm going to use my loop here, my magnification, just to see what that filled area looks like. And you can still see there that it's uneven. There is little divots in there where I've not quite managed to get a flat and even surface. So with that first coat on, it just makes it a lot easier to see where else you need to tackle. So I'm just going to refill that in now, get that level, remove the excess, and then I'll be ready to do the next layer of paint, and it will be a lot smoother. There is so much filling on this painting. There is racks and racks of retouching to do. So I'm going to capture as much as I can for you, and just let you see the process of building up those layers. So these restoration pigments, they don't work like oil paints. You can't really blend them as such. You can't mix them together on the canvas. You have to gradiate and mix out to do little incremental changes and shadows, and it takes a long time just to kind of blend those in together. So again, this will be first pass on that sail, and I always try and step back a little bit to like viewing distance. I'm trying to match that bellow in the sail. I'm not too worried about any of the fine detail yet. It's just blocking in that shadowed area. So again, as your palette builds up, you will have a better understanding of what pigments and what colours have been used. And then once you've got this down, you can start moving across the rest of the painting. So this will be the next section that I tackle in terms of first pass. So each of the pigment blocks here is in a resin, and then I've got a solvent that releases those. Some pigments are a lot stronger than others. Some take a while to dissolve and loosen. But once you've cracked that code for a certain colour, the trick is then to remember that for the next time you come across it. So again here, we'll be doing first passes across this whole sky section, and then we'll start to look at blending those in as well. I always try and do my retouchings during the brightest part of the day, so I've got good natural light. I'm near the window here, I've got overhead light. And the thing is, it does change throughout the day, and it does change where I am in the studio. So I do move the painting around as well to assess and just make sure that the colours that I'm mixing are true and correct. As the retouching dries as well, it can change colour on you. So you're always assessing and going back and forth. But at this point, it's you want to block out that filled area. You want to start bringing that painting forward. So again, matching the details that you've got around. So I'm just filling in those, I'm not sure what they're called on that boat. Well, I don't think they're spars, but he's got a little bit of a shelf across there. Just bring that shadow across as well. I'm going to use the original painting as well, the Butland, to just fill out some of those details that I'm missing from that little rowing boat. I think this is my favourite part of the painting, that red on that pilot's boat that's dropped off the captain of the ship and is returning to shore, and then the ensign on the back, which is billowing. So I still think there's a real charm to this painting. It is naive, but that rigging is spot on. So whoever was painting it had an idea what they were doing. They knew the way that the rigging should work. It's just they were a little bit out in their palette tone. So yeah, I've just used a ruler there and a very, very fine brush just to lightly touch in that rigging again there, just to shore that up. And then these reef ties, I've been told, again, I'll just touch in gently on there as well. So there's a few lumps and bumps in there as well that when you're this close up under magnification you can see. So I will be going back and filling those as well. So it's like it's an ongoing process of different passes. So some things you'll be happy with first time, some things you'll keep needing to retouch in and revisit. This little gull needed a little bit of help as well in this section. So this is, I'd say, a good first pass. There's elements that I'm going to refill. There's sections that do need adjusting where they're a little bit out, but probably again another 6 or 7 hours retouching there to get to this stage, and more to do. Now this was the Friday, so I have been planning something. This was something I wanted to do before I even realised what this painting was. So when I still thought this was a Carmichael, I had a trip planned to visit the Laing Art Gallery in Newcastle, where there's a number of Carmichaels on display, and see how mine measured up to the real deal. So I'm still doing this. I'm up to Newcastle quite regularly. This is the Laing Art Gallery. It's the municipal art gallery, and has got a great collection of northeast artists from, I suppose, early 19th century onwards. And this is an original John Wilson Carmichael painting. So the difference in colour tone is staggering. Look at the light on that sea, how it's hitting the boat, the drama in the people in this vessel. I'm not quite sure what they're doing, if they're going to that boat or coming away. But it's the tones for me, the sky tones, the browns, the ochres in the sails. It's just a different palette to ours altogether. So this one is shipping in the open sea. So they have crabs and lobster pots there and using an oar as a rudder. So it looks like, yeah, quite a busy scene. But the way he's captured that sea, that roaring sea and that drama, and this was people's everyday life, risking life and limb for food. We've got his signature down there as well in that bottom corner. But yeah, just a different level to the painting that I have in the studio. This is another fantastic Carmichael piece of the Tyne Bridge, and we've got this platoon or barge, I think it's the Lord Mayor's barge coming over. So much detail, so much colour, wonderful palette and just fantastic. So my Carmichael is on a different level to this, but I just thought it was worth seeing these up close and seeing how much work. Look at the colours there, fantastic. I don't know who she is or who she's visiting, but the quayside in Newcastle is quite similar to that. Those buildings are there today as well. Now, I always like it when this happens. This painting featured in episode 1 is by Thomas Miles Richardson, who was a tutor of John Wilson Carmichael. And just seeing this in the flesh as opposed to on the computer is fabulous. So this is the construction of the high-level bridge in Newcastle, and it shows the, I suppose, the destruction of a number of dwellings there. I think it says here that 650 families lost their homes in the building work for the bridge. Now, Thomas Miles Richardson was one of the leading artists in Newcastle, and I do think he had a hand in the tutorage of Carmichael as well. This was a nice surprise as well. This is by Neiman, and this shows the quayside of Newcastle with the bridge in place there with the trains going over. It's got the swing bridge in. There's a tall masted ship there as well, a little bit later than ours. But this just caught my eye. It's such a true-to-life painting. If you ever go to Newcastle, there's Gray's Monument, which I've shown in the past episode. Just fabulous. I mean, just the light, the way the light's captured, this just really blew me away. Fabulous picture. There it is, Edmund John Neiman. Yeah, it is dramatic. I mean, Newcastle, it's all on the rise up from the quayside. Yeah, just fabulous. Really nice to see that painting as well. This is the other Carmichael that they have on display. Again, lots of detail, lots of lovely thick impasto oil on there. The reflection on that front ship, that must be a bit of a signature of his. But look at the colours in the seamen there. Very bright, lots of detail in the rigging, even though that mast has gone, it's lost an awful lot of its sail. But yeah, just a quality painting. I may well do an episode in the future about buying from auction. I've done more research on this painting since owning it than before I placed a bid on it. Now, had I done a Google image search on the painting before bidding, I would have realised that it was a copy, and it may well have affected my decision to purchase it. But saying that, it was in such a bad way. I'm forgetting that this had a massive hole in it, and I'm viewing it as a whole painting now, which is great. So I think I probably would have still bought this picture because I felt like it needed saving and I felt like it deserved it. But yeah, just if you are in mind of buying a painting or think you've discovered something by an artist, do some research. Google Images is such a great tool now. I mean, we didn't have this 15 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't think even, but it is a really good tool to help you discover and see what's out there in terms of what you may be looking at. So I would definitely recommend doing a bit of a search before you place any bids, especially if it's going to be on something that's expensive. Right, I've done a little bit more retouching on this now. I've done a little bit more extra filling, and I'm going to put my first top coat of varnish on. Now, I say first because I do apply a number of varnish layers. So when this goes on now, this is also going to give me an indication of how good my retouching is and if I'm happy with it. It may show that there's some bits that need some adjustment as well. So if that's the case, I will adjust and retouch, and then there will be another top coat going on as well. But yeah, that red sail of that boat is definitely my favourite section of this painting. Just love that little area, and a lot of the retouching is looking good. There are a few little bits that I may well adjust, and I'm just going to work that varnish across now to make sure the whole painting is covered. So while that's drying, I'm just going to get the frame ready to go. I've finished the recolouring of this now, fitted it back together, applied some new tape, and it's ready to receive the almost finished painting. And I say almost because what I like to do is fit it up into its frame, and it gives you a different perspective on the painting. Then you see what it's going to look like finished, and because the frame's on, your eye gets drawn to any, say, little bits that you may have missed or little bits that need a little bit of adjustment. So I do like this stage. It just means I'm getting closer to finishing the painting. I did think I should have researched some proper shipping knots for this, but this is just the way I tidy up and finish up the picture card on the back of the painting. Label on. And then I have ordered something special for this picture. So I've got it a nameplate, and I'm doing it after William Butland. It's not by George William Butland, it's not attributed to George William Butland, it's after. So it's been inspired by his original work, and this will just give whoever owns this painting and through history a little bit of a nod to where it's come from and how it's come about. It's still a period piece and over 180 years old. That's why we put that important word after before the title. So unfortunately not a John Wilson Carmichael, but I do think that now it's back together in one piece in a suitable frame, fully cleaned and restored and retouched. It looks great. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. The rigging, the sea, removing that horrible polyurethane varnish, which was so thick. I think the result that we got compared to how it arrived is great, and I'm really happy with it. Let's just remind you, this is what it looked like before with that huge missing piece. We put the piece back in. We had it on the heated vacuum table and joined it together, and then we started that endless cleaning of that horrible varnish to reveal this painting, which, although a reproduction, it's still got a real nice quality to it. It's real nice colours, and I do love that little section with the red pilot boat and the flag on the left hand side. Okay guys, it's Thursday night, it's back together, it's finished. There might be a few little dots and dabs that I do once it's settled, but for all intents and purposes now it's done, it's back together. I know it wasn't what I wanted it to be, but you know what, I like it. I think it's got a real quaintness, a real naive charm to it. And it just looks so much better back in one piece. Yes, there was a lot of work involved. Is it financially worth it? I don't know, maybe you decide. But I'm pleased with the result, and it's a painting saved. And it's a great story. And I've loved reading all about, I mean, that whole era is just amazing. It's just fantastic and so exciting, all that, I don't know, adventure. Well, thank you as ever to my patrons for supporting the channel. Welcome to all my new patrons. If you'd like to go to Patreon, click the link. And also, if you are interested in purchasing this fine painting, it is available on my website now. I have priced it to sell, being what it is, but there is a wealth of work that has gone into that painting. So if you would like to have this painting on your wall as an original Bloomfield Art Restoration, then head over to my website. I'll put a link up here, or maybe there. But yeah, head over to the website and you can have a look at that painting. I will include free international shipping. So wherever you are in the world, I will crate this up and send it by sea, if I can choose that option. If I can send it by frigate, I will do. Okay, guys, weather report, where is it? Nice sunset tonight. So I'm going to finish up here, walk through Ancoats in the sunset, and relax after a job, I think, well done. Okay, guys, take care. See you on the next one. Oh, I've got a belter for you. Anyway, come back soon. Cheers. Bye.